All right, council, let's call to order the regular council meeting here for the town of St. Andrews, Monday, November 6th, 2023 at 6:45 p.m. As mentioned in the previous meeting, we are at the WC O'Neill Arena Complex Council Chambers, but this meeting will be also aired through Zoom and Facebook. But if anyone listening has any questions pertaining to tonight's agenda, you can email pnopper@townofstanders.ca, and Mr. Nopper will make sure to put that on the Facebook comments or feed, so people will be aware of how they can submit questions. All members of council are in attendance, so thank you very much, council, for being here. And I do again want to recognize that we are on the unceded traditional territory of the Peskotomuhkati people. Since this is the last council meeting before Remembrance Day, I thought it would be good if we just observe a moment of silence and reflect on those that have not just lost their lives for our country, but made sacrifices in their families. So at this time, we'll just take a quick moment of silence. Thank you, council. All right, approval of agenda. I do have amendment, but first let's get it on the table. Could I have a mover to, I've got Councillor Harland and a seconder for the agenda. I've got Councillor Hurdle. The amendment would actually be under new business. We received a request from Katie's Cove Inc. for a letter of support with the Environmental Trust Fund, and the scope of work would be with Eastern Charlotte Waterways for a water quality study of Katie's Cove. So I'd be looking for a mover to add that to the agenda. Just again, it's just a letter of support. I've got Councillor Heenan, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. Any discussion on that amendment? Okay, all in favor of that amendment, please signify by saying aye. All right, that has been accepted. We're back to the original agenda with that amendment now in it. Is there any other amendments or discussion on agenda? Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor of approving the agenda now, please signify by saying aye. That's everybody. The agenda has been approved. Disclosure of conflict of interest. Seeing none. There is no presentations this evening. So we are going to get right into the approval of the previous minutes. As you can see, there's 6 sets of them. So there's quite a few to go through. Is there any changes to any of those? So I'll know to slow it down. Otherwise, I will go through it as quickly as possible. Okay, seeing none. Thank you very much. It's a good sign. Mr. Nopper. So the first set is the minutes of the 2309-27 special council meeting, Wednesday, September 27th, 2023. Could I have a motion to approve those minutes, please? Got Councillor Heenan and seconded by Councillor Neal. All in favor of those minutes, please signify by saying aye. So everyone, the next one are the minutes of the 23-10-03 regular council meeting on Tuesday, October 3rd, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. Once again, a motion to approve those minutes. I got Deputy Mayor Acton and seconded by Councillor Hurdle. All in favor of approving those minutes, please signify by saying aye. That's been done. The next one are the minutes of the 23-10-10 special council meeting on Tuesday, October 10th, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. Once again, a mover. We got Councillor Gumashell and seconded by Councillor Blanchard. All in favor of those minutes, please signify by saying aye. Okay, and we're halfway through. The minutes of the 23-10-16 regular council meeting on Monday, October 16th, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. You know the routine. A mover, please. Got Councillor Harlan, seconded by Councillor Hurdle. All in favor of those minutes, please signify by saying aye. Accept it. Now we're on to the minutes of the 23-10-19 public hearing of objections for Compass Housing Inc. on Thursday, October 19th, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. Once again, a mover. Got Deputy Mayor Akaji and Councillor Gumashell won that one at the back. All in favor of those minutes, please signify by saying aye. And the last one, the minutes of the 23-10-19 special council meeting on Thursday, October 19th, 2023 at 6:45 p.m. A mover, please. Councillor Heenan, seconded by Councillor Neal. All in favor of those minutes, please signify by saying aye. That's everybody. The minutes have all been approved. Thank you for going through that. Communications, over to you, Mr. Spear, for staff report. This was first, actually.
Thank you for this opportunity to do the staff reports tonight. Council, with Remembrance Day coming up and the turmoil we are seeing internationally, we all should reflect on the privilege of living in a free country and still having citizen input within our democratic structures. Under council, the annual business improvement area levy is on the agenda tonight and is used for initiatives in the downtown, including the hanging flower baskets, donations to the Christmas festivities, and music in the square. It is part of the property tax bill and is only paid by commercial properties along Water Street between Elizabeth and Princess Royal Streets. On October 30th, we hosted the first of 3 public consultations regarding the wharf project. The discussion has been ongoing for 3+ years as council struggles with time of construction and overall budget costs. They want as much input as they can receive from the citizens to ensure they have the approval of the community before the final decision is made. We will be going to Bayside Hall this Thursday, November the 9th, and November the 16th, again in the dining room here at the W.C. O'Neill Arena. Staff are waiting through the budget and surprisingly are still waiting on some information from the province. We included the next draft version of the budget with your council packages, and we'll be meeting tomorrow night to look at it again. We need to work diligently to get these budgets completed by the deadline of November the 15th, although there is a bit of flexibility by the Department of Local Government. Also before council tonight is a follow-up report from the Heritage Board on the future of the courthouse as requested by council. They are hoping Civic Trust will be granted more time to review further options and report back to council within a year. Staff would recommend a face-to-face meeting with Civic Trust early in the new year to discuss this intended process and to ensure that your goals are aligned with theirs. Under administration, as part of the community planning, the provincial government has brought in regulations called statements of public interest that our planners need to keep in mind as they review any applications under the Community Planning Act. These establish a land use planning framework on the topics of settlement patterns, agriculture, climate change, flood and natural hazards, and natural resources. It does add a layer of administration to certain approvals, but hopefully will not slow down the process down. The documentation can be easily found online. The planners from the Southwest New Brunswick Planning Office would like to jointly meet with council and the PAC to explain what this means. November is fairly busy with meetings already, so possibly in December or January. And actually, a quick amendment, we were talking to them at the end of last week after this report was prepared. They actually want to do those presentations separately. So they'll probably do the PACs coming up because it really affects their decision-making, and then early in the new year with council. Within the budget, and through a grant, we'll be adding cameras to the downtown area because we are seeing an increase in vandalism, trespassing, and petty theft. For now, the plan is for the cameras to be only used for security purposes and not accessible online. This initiative may grow over the next few years as council balances privacy versus crime reduction strategies. Staff have gone through most of the utility customers to update meters where needed and to get the starting readings in order to go to full consumption-based readings in the spring. There have been over 1,000 man-hours put into repairing the system for the transition and preparing the IT infrastructure to automate this to reduce human error into the system. Our new old operations and asset manager is being appointed tonight, Terry Acton. His knowledge of the community and municipal process is important and will allow us to continue further asset management planning as we continue to address the capital needs. The bad news for Terry was his orientation was being given the keys and told to get to work. We celebrated Municipalities Week locally with a contest for the students at VMES, as well as a photo contest. The elementary school winners were Abigail Johnson, who is mayor for the day, Alistair Legacy, mayor for the day, and Lila Mitchell, firefighter of the day. And we're supposed to sit down today and go over the photo contest winner, and we forgot about it. So we will get that out by the end of the week, I promise. Thank you to the 6 participants who submitted those. Services. The fire department has a tremendous busy reporting period and had 28 incidents compared to 10 to 12 in a normal month. Hurricane Lee fell within this time frame and caused 8 calls over that one event. As a reminder, with stoves and fireplaces being used now that the colder weather has found us, chimneys should be cleaned by a professional annually. We typically have a few calls a year related to chimney fires. I am happy to report that a second full-time position has been added by the province of New Brunswick to the Ross Memorial Library, so we now have 2.5 full-time equivalents locally. This is the highest staffing level in recent memory. Selena had assumed this position over the summer and has been a great addition. It also means the town can reduce Our wages budgeted substantially in the library as we funded a half a FTE for over 2 decades. Patrons should inquire about a lending library that includes items such as snowshoes, a lamp, games. Public Works is becoming more involved in special event planning, such as Indulge, various banner raisings, Canada Day, other special events, etc. While all important to the fabric of the community, other core tasks such as asphalting, ditching, and facility maintenance are falling behind. Over the next year, we'll review the man hours associated with these activities and review if additional roles are needed, even part-time, to meet the needs and wants of council. In conclusion, although the busy summer season has mostly wrapped up, Christmas by the Sea is starting on November the 18th and continuing to December 9th. They have both a web page and social media presence to see all the planned events. This is a great time for community spirit, so please take time to join in the festivities. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Appreciate that. I know we have a budget meeting tomorrow night where we'll be discussing the financials a little further, but anything you want to highlight from a financial perspective for this evening?
Only, Your Worship, as the Assistant Treasurer had put that we have quite a surplus showing right now, and we'll balance that for the rest of the year. Some of the expenses, because some of the initiatives have been cut, plus there's some staff shortages as we transition between staff. But we'll have, by the next version, it's about 3/4 done in projections for the year, and any excess is used to reduce debt or whatever in future years.
For sure. Any questions from any member of council? I've got Councillor Blanchard.
Thanks, Your Worship. Just a question actually on the financial summary that was provided. In the revenue and excuse me, under accommodation levy, there was some extra revenue there. The increase was due to increased traffic in town, as well as an increased number of short-term rental businesses. I'm just wondering, what's the increase in the number of short-term rentals over last year? Just wondering what the numbers. Apologies for not providing that.
Yeah,
question
no,
prior to
just more hands-on in this
yeah.
stuff. I know the number, but I'll let him confirm it.
Yeah, so through Your Worship, generally speaking, we have on average about 70 short-term accommodators with Bayside and Shamcook now within the municipality that had about 30. But also note that in July, the 3.5% levy also kicked in versus the 3%. So you would have seen an increase there. But even in quarters 1 and 2, we even saw increases in rentals and levy coming in. So over year, there's been an increase in every quarter. So we are becoming a more popular destination each quarter we have. And generally Q3, which we're in now, which a lot of the information will be there, is like usually the highest amount because that covers the like July, August, September as the number. So we are seeing both an increase in due to the percentage, an increase due to the new number, but also an increase due to more people renting spaces in town.
Also should be added, sorry, Councillor Hurdle, is that considering how bad the weather was this summer for 6 weeks of rain, it's quite incredible that the number of room nights that were still sold within the town are going to put us over and above last year's figures.
Yeah, so specifically, and I have the numbers because I had an interview with CBC. So in 2022, we had 60 in the old municipality, but 22 were added in from Shamcook Bayside. So that would have put us in theory to 82, but the actual number now is 93. So it is having some steady growth. The only thing that we can't really have visibility on is we only start collecting this data in 2020 during the pandemic. We actually don't know what the baseline was in 2019. And we do know in 2020, it went down significantly. There was a lot of people that decided not to rent out in their home because of what was happening. So we don't really know other than the trend is showing an increase. Councillor Hurdle.
Thank you, Worship. And this just kicked off a question that I had because I remember that with the before amalgamation, there was a cap on the amount of permits that we issued for short-term rentals, or not?
No, through Your Worship, no, there was no cap. It was discussed by the previous council to implement a bylaw that would have had regulations on fire escapes, number of units, or that you can rent per house or per town, but that never went through. So there is no technical cap in place at this point.
Thank you.
So there's a lot of talk, but the short-term bylaw got defeated at third reading. But with that being said, is the zoning bylaw that was updated has restricted some way what zones it can be in. For example, an apartment building and multiple residential cannot be Airbnb, for example, but I will say that as that number increases, it's a conversation this table's going to have, whether, you know, you let free market reign or you limit it. And I won't get into kind of debate on that today, but it's probably a conversation that we are going to have over the course of this. And CBC did call while I was in Victoria to do an interview on that because more municipalities are talking about it. Any other questions on that? Other questions for staff? Okay, I'll look for a mover to accept the staff reports. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Councilor Harlan.
Sorry, I thought we were just asking questions.
It's okay.
Mr. Spear, my question is for Mr. Knopper. So I saw in your report that you've been meeting with the website developer. Just wondered if you had a bit of an update on that time frame, if we're going to get to see a peak.
Yeah,
View.
so through you, your worship, we're actually meeting to do some training with the web developer in a couple of weeks to go over the finalized, and then from there we'll be able to open it up to more eyes. But it's just finalizing and fine tweaking the website at this point. But the goal is once that's complete, we'll bring council in and start opening it up.
So any idea of when the project will be completed?
We were hoping November, but at this point it's probably pushing into December now. So
I hear by year end. Anyone else? Okay, I could have a mover to accept the staff reports. I've got Councillor Heenan and seconded by. I've got, oh, that was a tie. Deputy Mayor gets the win, obviously. Seconded by the Deputy Mayor. All in favor of accepting the staff reports? That's everyone. Those have been accepted. Thank you very much, Mr. Spear, for the summary. Okay. So at this particular time, we are switching over to the introduction, consideration, and passing of bylaws and motions. And it will be over to the Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship and Council. My one is FA 231116. And it's changed to the November 20th, 2023 regular council meeting date. So the background is this: at the October 16th, 2023 regular council meeting, council discussed moving the regular council meeting date from November 20th to 2023 to November 22nd, 2023 to accommodate council to attend the Neighborhood Works event in St. Stephen. As such, council needs a motion under the bylaw number 16-03 or 03 procedural bylaw to move the date of the meeting. Note, council moved two public hearings of objections from November 20th to the 22nd. So our action is this, or the motion is this: that the council of the town of St. Andrews approves the date change for the regular council meeting of November 20th, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. to Wednesday, November 22nd, 2023 at 7 p.m. And I so move, Your Worship.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Seconder. I will give that to Councillor Hurdle. Any discussion on this one? We did talk about it at the last meeting, but okay, all in favor of moving the council meeting, signify by saying aye. It's everybody that council meeting has been moved. Not every day Public Works gets to be the star with 3 motions, but over to Councillor Blanchard.
Thank you, Your Worship. Reference number PW 231118. Appointment of Terry Acton, Asset Operations Manager for the town of St. Andrews. On October 30th, 2023, the town of St. Andrews welcomed back Terry Acton as the new Asset/Operations Manager. We are excited to have Mr. Acton return as part of the town team. As part of the administrative process, council needs to appoint Mr. Acton to the position of Asset Operations Manager. In addition, council needs to formally accept the resignation of Kevin Hughes, former Asset/Operations Manager. So the motion before us is that the council of the town of St. Andrews accepts the resignation of Kevin Hughes, Asset/Operations Manager, with a final date of Friday, October 6th, 2023, and I so move.
Thank you. A seconder for that one. I've got Councillor Bennett. Discussion on that. Okay, all in favor of accepting the resignation, please signify by saying aye. That's carried. Don't know what you'd do if you didn't accept it, so it's good. But thank you to Mr. Hughes for his time with the town of St. Andrews. We definitely appreciate the contributions that he's made, and our town looked wonderful this summer, and he was a big part of the reason why. Next motion.
Motion is that the council of the town of St. Andrews appoints Terry Acton as the asset/operations manager for the town of St. Andrews, and I so move.
And I'll be looking for a second. Councillor Neal won that one. And discussion on this motion. Okay, all in favor of approving that motion, please signify by saying aye. That is approved, and welcome officially back, Terry. And again, I don't know what we'd do if we didn't approve that one at this point. So I know their protocol. The next one, please, Councillor Blanchard.
PW, excuse me, 231115. It is the Proclamation for Nature Canada, restoring and protecting 30% of our oceans by 2030. And the background is that the town of St. Andrews has received a request from Nature Canada, a national environmental organization seeking to raise awareness of marine conservation in coastal communities across Canada. Their goal is to address the federal government's commitment to protecting 30% of our oceans by 2030. Please see the attached letter and proposed proclamation for more details. And the motion before us is that the council of the town of St. Andrews supports the proclamation for Nature Canada's restoring and protecting 30% of our oceans by 2030, and I so move.
Thank you very much. A seconder for that motion. I've got Councillor Harland. It is now on the floor. Any discussion on this one? Councillor Bennett.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I don't want anybody to feel that I'm against any kind of conservation of land or water in Canada, but I've been kind of following this whole idea of putting 30% of the waters off limits in Canada. That might seem like a wonderful activity to do, but seems that we're a coastal community where we have a large portion of our population is based on tourism, whale watching activities, farming with the salmon farms in our community, and the people that live here that work in that industry, also the people that fish in the waters. This whole conservation idea of 30% of the waters, there's not a lot of information that's being told to the public what's actually going to happen and what the long-term effects is. And I think saying right now that we agree to the whole idea without knowing a whole lot more of what actually is going to happen, the profound effects could make it impossible even for our Indigenous people to do their ceremonial fishing in the summertime. 30% of the water is off limits. Who decides what and where is off limits and what you can do in those waters? There's a whole lot of questions to answer that haven't been answered to this point from my understanding. I do know that local fishermen are talking with the feds right now, and they're discussing what areas, like they're trying to negotiate certain areas to be closed and some areas that should be remain open. But even still, the whole idea that we don't know what it's going to look like in 20 years from now, what we're going to be allowed to do for a coastal community that depends on the waters around us, I think is something that we should really put on the table and wait till we find out a whole lot more information on what this actually means. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bennett. I've got a couple. Councillor Blanchard. Councillor Hurdle, you want to back cleanup, do you? Yeah. Councillor Hurdle then.
Wow. Wow.
Unless you want to throw it back, because I did you do have the
I
option.
know, right? No, it's fine. In the essence of time, we'll move.
It was
forward.
just his birthday though.
I know,
Just
right?
saying. We should
It
probably
actually
give
today
it.
was.
Today is.
Oh, it is today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in that sense, over to you,
Oh, wow.
the venerable Council Blanchard.
All right. Just to Councillor Bennett's point, I can speak a little bit to this just because this was part of my job with DFO. Actually, one of my portfolios, one of my projects was actually working on marine protected areas around musquash. So I can speak from experience. This has been a target, and this was announced quite a few years ago by the federal government. So this isn't a new initiative. They've made significant progress in the last 5 years on protecting new areas. it should be noted too that a marine protected designation does not necessarily mean it's completely off limits. There are different levels of protection that are provided. There's a significant amount of consultation that goes on prior to any designation being made. There's usually baseline work that gets done, and then there's consultation with all the stakeholders who might be impacted. So it doesn't just happen. There's a great deal of consultation, and they don't take those designations lightly. So I know in some conservation areas there is fishing allowed. Like there's all kinds of uses allowed. It just depends on the level of protection, which in turn is dependent on what you're trying to protect, right? Whether it's a sensitive environment, it could be breeding grounds, it could be all sorts of things. There's any number of reasons why something could receive designation, but I can speak from experience. It's not going to happen without significant consultation with the different stakeholders involved. So I'd be fully in supportive of this, knowing what has happened previously and how things are being managed right now. I don't think this will have a significant impact on fisheries in different places around the world where this has been implemented. Protecting specific areas actually has enhanced fisheries in the surrounding areas. It actually provides a haven for fish to develop and grow, to breed, all those different things. Habitat conservation, it actually enhances fisheries and other activities in the marine environment. So I'd be fully supportive of it.
Thank you, Councillor Blanchard. Now Councillor Hurdle.
I guess on your birthday, I can say age before beauty, right?
Right, sure.
So for clarity's sake, I just wanted to say that this request is not coming from the federal government. This request is coming from Nature Canada, and I'm a little bit unfamiliar with Nature Canada. I do know the Nature Conservancy, but I'm just not sure I've heard of Nature Canada that much before. So I just wanted to ask, have we as a municipality partnered with Nature Canada in the past? Have we worked with them? Have we come to any agreements? Do we know who they are and what they represent and how they do what they do?
At this point, I can't answer that, meaning I can't say. We've done things like this occasionally, but it's like few and far between. So I'd have to go through the minutes to see if we've dealt with this specific group in some of our previous motions, but I can't at this point in time say for sure. Sorry.
And as mayor, I've never met with them. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I guess, in terms of the idea behind it, I would say sure, but I don't know enough about the organization, what their goals are, their aims are with this either. So I wouldn't be able to say that I support it at this time.
Okay. Councillor Ware.
One thing in the background information, their goal is to address the federal government's commitment to protecting 30% of the oceans. And I think our esteemed Prime Minister was talking about it just the other day, where they hope to have a lot of it in place by 2025. But then the motion says to support Nature Canada's restoring and protecting 30% of our oceans, when really it's not them that's restoring and protecting the ocean. It's an undertaking by the federal government at this point in time. So, one doesn't lead into the other very well. It's my only comment.
Thank you. Any other member of council? Councillor, or just one sec, I'll go to you 1 minute. Any other member of council that hasn't entered debate yet? Okay, I'll go through a second round now for any additional comments. Councillor Bennett.
Thank you, Your Honor, Your Worship. Councillor Blanchard, thank you very much for your input there. That's greatly appreciated. And I absolutely do acknowledge that, like, the information that you're given, I believe, is exactly what I've been hearing very little bits about. And this is, from my understanding, purely coming from the Prime Minister, that as his father put a lot of lands into national trust, national parks, when he was in power, that this is one of his legacy projects that he's looking to accomplish before the end of this term. And I do acknowledge that there can be a lot of good, but the fact that there's not a lot of written data that says here are the rules in perpetuity and that the rules can't change, it leaves a lot to be worried about, especially when you live in a coastal community. We have a lot of friends and family and people here that are affected by decisions that happen on the water. So it's I do take it very serious. Just for example, income tax was just a temporary thing to help pay for the war. And here we are now, many decades later, and it's evolved. So for those reasons, I couldn't support this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other member of council? All right. Yep. Yep. Thank you, Councillor Spear. So the fact that this is by 2030, I don't think 2 weeks is going to stop that. But Councillor Hurdle, over to you.
Thank you, Worship. I just wanted to be clear, like, there's one thing is supporting the target of 30% protection, but the other thing that's being asked of here is supportive of a letter for Nature Canada, which is what they're asking us to support that organization in their goal of doing it. So there's two different things that we're talking about here. And one is, do we support the idea of protecting 30% of the oceans? And the other one is, are we supporting a letter of support for this organization? And in terms of supporting the letter of support, that's where we're at. And so it's at the table here. And I think we just need to specify exactly what we're talking about.
So based on that and staff's comments, would anyone like to entertain a table the motion? I guess I've got two. I've got a second remover, Councillor Gumashell and Heenan in unison. Any discussion on the tabling? All in favor of tabling this motion, please signify by saying aye. Thank you. That has been tabled unanimously. We are now jumping to Councillor Blanchard's last motion.
You go. Reference number PW 231114. Subject is updated asset management plans for Market Wharf and St. Andrews Streets. The background reads: the town of St. Andrews was awarded funds through the Federation of Canadian Municipalities to conduct updated asset management reviews and plans for the Market Wharf and the streets of St. Andrews. Provided with this report are copies of the reports. Okay. CBCL Limited completed the studies for the town of St. Andrews, who also developed the asset management plan. Please see the attached documents for copies of the reports. The action, or rather the motion that's in front of us, that the council of the town of St. Andrews accepts the updated asset management reports for the Market Wharf and streets of St. Andrews, and I so move.
Thank you. Could I have a seconder for that motion? I've got Councillor Harland. This is on the table. Councillor Hurdle.
Thank you, Worship. Mr. Spear, I wonder if you can answer a logistical question for me. How difficult or what would be the challenges in approaching another organization like, say, Dillon Consulting to review CBCL's findings and recommended actions, just for a second opinion? I think what we're, at least from my point of view anyway, there's still a lot of noise in the numbers, and just there's things I think that maybe we're not seeing, and options that aren't currently on the table. As far as the wharf goes, I'm not bringing up the streets in this case, but just when it comes to the wharf, I have more questions than answers at this point. So would it be difficult? Obviously, it would require a motion from council, but it would be difficult for us to approach. And can you provide any feedback on that?
I guess two things, and I understand your concerns, Councillor. I will say that a few years ago, we were looking at other engineering firms, and it just wasn't really a lack of concern with CBCL, but it was their primary and C. And we've talked to several, and they were identified as the best for marine by several municipalities. So I guess we decided, to continue with the relationship. We can follow council's will. Just everything costs a lot of money. We've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars going through all these various steps right now. CBCL could do this report because they've studied this work several times over the last 3 or 4 years. And so, I'm going to guess that if we brought in a second outfit to do a secondary look and provide recommendations, it's probably $50,000 to $100,000 in additional costs. Nothing else. They've got to start from scratch and go through and get a baseline and then start looking at the future. But I'll follow council's will on that, and we can, look for some, get quotes on that if someone would like to, just to have a comparison if you would like. But that's my concern on the amount of professional fees associated with that at this point in time.
Thank you very much. I guess just to follow up a little bit is that we heard in the presentation from CBCL that the individual who provided us the information said that wasn't necessarily his field of focus during that conversation. And that's where I guess a lot of my concerns do come from, is that I just feel like we're maybe being shortchanged. And I just want to make sure that obviously this is one of the biggest projects that we could conceive of taking on. I just really wish we had more information at this point.
Councilor Ware?
Yeah, I'd just like to echo what Councillor Hurdle has said. CBCL is no doubt one of the larger prominent engineering firms, at least in North America, if not in the world. I don't know how far they spread their wings. But I ran into the same problem of them sending a bridge engineer down to look at the wharf. A wharf is not a bridge. And I told him that the first day he was there, but I don't think I convinced him. And he continued on as though it was a bridge. And they have a fellow in the Sydney office, their Sydney office, who is truly an expert on wharves. And I've talked to him, and it's very evident when you talk to him that that's his field. Another fellow in Halifax, not quite as good, but I haven't found anybody in New Brunswick yet that can sit down and talk about bridges. But they're not the same structure. And so I have the same concerns. It's more of a gut feeling than anything. Are we really getting the expert advice that we need? And rarely do I say that about a professional firm. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you for that, Councilor Ware. So I don't know if this would be something that we carry over for conversation during the budget time, because this is something that would need to be budgeted, it'd be a significant investment, or it's just a matter of circling back and asking CBCL if this individual in Sydney could review the options that are presented to say, is this a viable plan for this community, or is there something we're not seeing, right? Like that would probably be I can't see that being 50,000, but I could be wrong, but maybe there's some type of follow-up for us. But do you want to just bring that up at budget time? Would that make sense? Because technically this motion, it is and it isn't, but it's not about, adding additional consultation around engineering of the wharf, right? It is and it isn't. It's an asset management plan, but it also includes streets. So, but I think there is a takeaway there for us to talk about budget time. That makes sense, because I think that's healthy conversation. Any other discussion on this one? That aside, do we feel like we could call the question on that, or do you want to just hold off until we have that discussion? Is there any damage of tabling this? Would anyone like to table it until we have that further conversation and get some more feedback? Okay, can I have a mover to table? Councilor Ware, Councilor Hurdle. Okay, both mover and a seconder to table this one as well. Any discussion on this one on the tabling? Okay, all in favor of tabling this motion until we do a little bit more, signify by saying aye. All right, we'll circle back on this one as well. Thank you, Councilor Blanchard. One out of your three went through, I guess. Let's see how Councilor Hurdle does, but I guess the first one isn't a motion. It is feedback from the Heritage Board regarding the courthouse study, Broken Shovel Consulting, BTHC 231105. So yeah, that one is on 175. So council, basically, I guess really this is about providing kind of next steps. Actually, I'll pass it over. There is a report. Is it Mr. Knopper, Mr. Spear want to speak to this one first?
Thank you, Your Worship. So presented to you in the report. Basically, the Heritage Board reviewed the report from Broken Shovel Consulting. They did note that council should look at accepting the report as a consultation process. But they feel that there could be greater or more information gathered within what the future use of the courthouse is. And the Heritage Board is actually looking at recommending council speak with the St. Andrews Civic Trust to look at giving them a year to come up with some other proposed ideas for council as to what the use of the courthouse could be. So in just that's what you're looking at.
Thank you for that. So staff's really looking for direction on kind of, do we almost feels like sit on it a little bit further? I guess council, this is over to you, but what I always ask myself, if we're gonna wait around, what new information are we going to get and what are we looking for? It's not an easy discussion. It's not an easy decision, but well, let's be honest, the courthouse has been lingering for a while. There's been lots of opportunity for ideas. I do think, like, the recommendation is it might be good to sit down with Civic Trust. And I don't think that even has to wait till next year. I could maybe even ask if they're available next Monday or the Monday after and have a conversation about specifically what would they be looking for. Because I really, as much as I like having more time, the reality is I only want more time if there's new information, and I'm not so sure this council before has any new information coming into it. I'm just my personal opinion on that. So as much as in the staff report it said to get together in the new year, I don't see why I wouldn't get together sooner. But council, over to you. I am a soldier of your will. Councillor Heenan.
Your Worship and Council, I have a lot of history with the courthouse. And I've been here 6 years and we're still working on it. I am not in favor of any more time. I mean, this is very expensive. We need to have a decision. We need to do something immediately. As I said, I sat on a board way before pandemic and this was discussed. And nothing came about. Everybody wanted more time to come up with more ideas. Nothing ever surfaced. So I really don't think it's a monetary or a fiscal responsibility of ours to give it a whole year before we have a report. I have no problems in meeting with Civic Trust. I have no problems whatsoever, but we need action quicker than 12 months. That's just my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Neal.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, I just wanted to add, I don't know if everybody was aware or not, but I noticed that we did receive a request for proposal for a 12-month study from the Civic Trust. I think as the meeting started, so.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I have not seen that.
It just came in, so.
What time did that come out?
Sorry, Your Worship, it came in late this afternoon, and so as I was sitting here, saw it, I forwarded off to council.
You know what?
Real-time information.
Let's just, again, council, I hate to table everything tonight, but let's just have a look through that after this meeting. And it's not like, let's be honest, 2 weeks is going to make or break us to come back. Staff, I know it's 2 more weeks, so you're going to wait to hear from us. I guess in the meantime is, if you guys, I'd really like to hear your thoughts and what you'd like to find out. But to be honest, if they got a proposal, it'd almost be worth them coming in to present that, just so you can all ask questions versus just me. So let's just take a look through and we'll just discuss it next council meeting. And then if we like what we're seeing, we'll ask them to come in and present. We can ask the detail. Does that make sense? Okay, Councilor Ware, I saw your hand there.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment that, and Mr. Spear can verify this, but in going through some of the numbers, I don't know whether it was on the budget or what it was, but I saw $100,000 as, I think it was listed as a B project for putting new siding on the courthouse. So we do have to make the decision before we go and lay another $100,000 on this. What may be a white elephant, but I don't know.
Yeah, you're right, because there's some decisions we have to make. We're almost keep putting them off because we don't know what we're doing with the courthouse. It reaches a certain point where you can't put them off, so the tax dollars will go into that building, and who knows what the future. So I think in light of that new information, I do think we should all review it and just get back together in 2 weeks and just quickly discuss it. And we think that they are saying they'd like to present. So after we review it, let's just have a quick conversation and set up for the following regular meeting a presentation. So I think the fact that there's a new proposal from within our community I think we should do due diligence to read it and find out more about it. So I look forward to reviewing it after this meeting. Does everybody, is that consensus though? We don't need a formal motion, but does everyone think? All good? No, I think we got consensus there that we want to review it. Okay, so we are on to the next motion. Counselor Hurdle.
Thank you, Your Worship. And this is in reference to BTHC 231104. And the subject is the Town of St. Andrews to manage finances for the Christmas by the Sea Committee. The background is that the Town of St. Andrews has been requested by the Christmas by the Sea Committee to hold, review, and release its finances for the 2023 events. This will ensure financial oversight and management and provide securities to the Christmas by the Sea Committee. Staff have the ability to manage the funds and are happy to participate. A formal motion is needed for the record. So the motion is that the Council of the Town of St. Andrews provides oversight and management of the financials for the Christmas by the Sea Committee, and I so move.
Thank you. A seconder for that one. I've got Council Blanchard, I think, won that one. And it's his birthday, so maybe from now on, every single motion will let him win. Discussion on that one. I know that the chamber managed those funds before. They're going through transitions. They're just looking someone to do it. I did consult with Mr. Spear. It is more work, but not a significant amount, so he had no objection to it. Anyone else? Okay, call the question. All in favor of approving that motion, please signify by saying aye. Congratulations, Mr. Spear, more work. Next motion.
Well, the good news is, Your Worship, I pass it off to somebody else anyway. So sorry, Andrew Lord.
He's not here.
Next motion is, excuse me, in reference to BTHC 230906. And the subject is bylaw number 23-04, a bylaw of the Town of St. Andrews to impose a special business improvement levy, second and third reading. So the background is, as part of downtown beautification initiatives, the St. Andrews Business Improvement Area collects an annual levy from its members to pay for various projects and events. The BIA, established in 1984, is a geographical area between Water Street from Princess Royal Street to Elizabeth Street. All businesses within this area are within the BIA and subject to the annual levy. As per the Business Improvement Act of New Brunswick, the council must set the levy annually and by bylaw, which also includes approval of their budget and a public hearing of objections. The following steps have been taken in the bylaw process. The first reading was September the 18th, 2023. It was then posted in the St. Croix Courier as per the BIA Act on September 27th and October 4th editions. And then the public hearing of objections was earlier this evening at November 6th, 2023. Council, if ready, can move forward with the second and third reading of the bylaw. And so the motion is just that the Council of the Town of St. Andrews grants leave for the second reading of bylaw number 23-04, a bylaw of the Town of St. Andrews to impose a special business improvement levy for 2024 in the Town of St. Andrews, and I so move.
And a seconder. Got Counselor Neal. Discussion. Call the question. All in favor of going to second reading, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? That's no one. And I can get away by title, right? Yeah. After the second reading. Town of St. Andrews bylaw number 23-04, a bylaw of the Town of St. Andrews to impose a special business improvement levy. That is the title. It's read the first time the 18th day of September 2023 and read the second time of the 6th day of November 2023. And let's go to the next one.
Thank you, Your Worship. And moving right along, this motion is that the Council of Town of St. Andrews grants leave for the third and final reading of the bylaw number 23-04, a bylaw of the Town of St. Andrews to impose a special business improvement levy for 2024 in the Town of St. Andrews. And I so move. Thank
you. Once again, a seconder. Counselor Blanchard. Just gotta mix it up there a little bit. Discussion on this one. All in favor of going to the third and final reading for this levy, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? That's nobody. Here we go. This is the Town of St. Andrews bylaw number 23-04, a bylaw for the Town of St. Andrews to impose a special business improvement levy. Has been read again by title. Again, to reminder, it was read the first time the 18th day of September, read the second time the 6th of November, and read the third time the 6th of November. And that is once again passed. Thank you, Council. And when I jump over, I think that's it for Councillor Hurdle. So we're going ahead to Councillor Heenan.
Thank you, Your Worship and Council. Reference number PED 231106. Peddler's permit request for a food trailer with a temporary use permit, 220 Bayview Drive by Charlie Bartlett. The town of St. Andrews has received a request for the peddler's permit for the operation of a food trailer located at 220 Bayview Drive by applicant Mr. Charlie Bartlett. The applicant has received a temporary use permit approval under the Community Planning Act by the Planning Advisory Committee. That the Planning Advisory Committee for the town of St. Andrews approves the amended temporary use permit for 7 months, November 2-3 to May 2-4, for the placement of a food trailer at 220 Bayview Drive, PID 15056609, for applicant Mr. Charlie Bartlett and Gowan Industries, with the following terms and conditions. 1. Hours of operation shall not exceed 1 p.m. to 9 p.m. 2. That prior to commencement of temporary use, a vendor's license or agreement to be obtained from the town of St. Andrews. 3. That prior to the commencement of temporary use, water and sewer hookups may meet the requirements of the town and receive approval from the chief administrative officer. In order for Mr. Bartlett to proceed, he needs approval on the peddler's permit license. Please see the attached planner's report for additional details. Note, if the permit is approved and issued, the applicant will need to pay a total permit fee of $250 based on 6 weeks of allowed use at $50. The action is that the town of St. Andrews approves the peddler's permit for Charlie Bartlett to operate a food trailer at 220 Bayview Drive, St. Andrews, New Brunswick, from November 2-3 to May 2-4. I so move.
Thank you very much, Counselor Heenan. So we'll be looking for a seconder to get that to the table. Counselor Harland, this one is open for conversation. I guess before we enter debate, I don't know if Counselor or if Mr. Spear, Mr. Nopper wants to just comment, just because we do have new members of council and kind of the PAC role in this particular thing. So they don't actually, PAC doesn't review the actual peddler's permit. They look at the property and the services, have parking, whatever the different requirements are, and they make a decision on the land, not necessarily the issuing of the permit. Is that a summary of so everyone's aware?
Yes,
They looked
you-
at the land, not the actual food truck in the permit.
Yes, Your Worship, and to note that the land itself is actually already under a commercial zone anyway, so it's.
Thank you very much. So this is open for council for discussion. Okay, I've got a few. I think Counselor Bennett just beat Counselor Heenan, so we'll go Counselor Bennett, then Counselor Heenan.
Thank you, Your Worship and Council. In the past few months, we've had a few discussions on food trailers and stuff within the town limits. I know in many moons ago, we talked about how in the past there was a request for a Mexican food trailer, and you specifically said that that was not allowed. Can you tell me why Council of the Day wouldn't allow that?
So yeah, that's relevant. So we've had multiple requests for food trucks in the past, and they were all denied by town council. Multiple from a grilled cheese truck to multiple proposals that I personally heard. And even this summer, someone asked me, and I said, traditionally, council does not approve food trucks. I think there's to answer your question, I think there's a conversation that should happen. I think it should happen with the BIA as well and get them involved, as well as the local chamber, because it does impact businesses. But specifically, the town has never approved a food truck. There has been a temporary use technicality for char and chowder. Is that correct? It wasn't, but it wasn't a
It's
food
little-
truck, but it
it's
was
a little bit of a different scenario there, Your Worship.
but it was a temporary use,
Yeah.
right? For
But I guess over the years I've been here, Councillor Bennett, most councils have felt that because other restaurateurs made the investment to be in the town and such, there's such a limited season traditionally for them to make their money. As you know, most of them are closed over the winter, that they didn't want to provide or have people come in to compete against for the same food dollars that weren't necessarily making the same investment in the community. And so almost making an uneven playing field was the thought of the day. And so that's been kind of the tradition they followed for the years. And but the only other time, for certain special events, we'll allow a food truck. But as far as just someone opening up to the general public, there hasn't been allowed ever, at least in the last 20 years I've been here.
And from my understanding from the past, to go back to that question, that if we were going to allow food trucks, we would probably receive multiple proposals of people that were looking to establish one, because there has been a number of people that are still in the community that have expressed interest in the past.
Just as note, the same food truck that certainly he's requesting was actually turned down by the last council at a different location down at the end of the Bar Road. Again, not trying to muddy this particular decision, but just trying to provide a history of what it's been up to this point in time.
Councillor Heenan?
Yes, your worship and council. This brings up, when I sat in retail on a mall board in Fredericton for the Regent Mall, we had peddlers that came into the mall in October, November, and December who would sell the exact same product as our mortar stores that kept the mall opened for 12 months of the year. And this became a very sour note. And I really cannot support money being taken away from the people who are, we just raised the BIA levy in the town of St. Andrews. And I cannot see that this is fair to the people who provide this service to this community 12 months of the year. And it happened in the malls, and it almost becomes rebellious. And all I can see is really that we're going to have like Keith's big dogs coming into town in the summertime and taking away from our merchants in the downtown core. And I just can't see it. I look at Joey's Independent, who sell about 25, 30 meals a lunch hour. And if we lose that money in Joey's, we're going to lose the deli section. And I foresee it happening. And I, as I say, when I sat on the mall board, I thought it was great to bring the peddlers in until I saw the results that it had against the tenants. They don't have to have a telephone. They would call the tenants across from them. I mean, it just became a nightmare. So I have no way that I would support this. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Councillor Blanchard, then we'll go to Councillor Harlan.
Thank you, Your Worship. I understand sort of historically what's happened with the town with regards to food trucks and the like. This one, I just sort of see, and to Councillor Heenan's point, I don't see this sort of the same as the situation you described, in that this is an existing tenant within the town. This is an existing business at Char and Chowder. It's the same proprietor, same owner. As was demonstrated, we received a letter late this afternoon as well, which really talked about an extension of his services. Their building that they pay taxes on downtown right now is not winterized, so they can't provide the service through the winter. They do still have staff, and by allowing them to continue to operate through the winter months in a food truck, it does allow his staff to continue to work. So it does provide employment for members of our community. It's outside of the Heritage Business District. It's outside, so I don't have as much of an issue there. And where this is already an existing tenant who's paying taxes, just like every other business owner in town, but is looking for a way to extend their season, I could actually support this in that sense. I do see this as something different than what we've seen in the past, where a vendor from the outside, just a truck, as you said, sort of coming in and taking away from the brick and mortar businesses that we have. I would support you in that respect there. I see this one as a little bit different. So I would be open to this idea based on the fact that this owner does exist downtown already and is providing, paying taxes and doing everything that every other owner is downtown. So thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Harlan.
Thank you, Mayor Henderson. I agree with Councillor Blanchard's comments. He took many of my comments right from my mouth in terms of the way it is his birthday. Yeah, I agree. In terms of how I see this as being different from other requests, I do think this council has got to review this idea of food trucks or other alternatives in terms of restaurants. I've done a fair bit of traveling. I've gone to many cities where there have been food trucks that offer unique, different options, which is a drawing card. It can be a drawing card. I also really worry about the fact I recognize that for our restaurants, they are paying taxes and it's a challenge, but we are also trying to continue to build our build business in St. Andrews. And right now, for the winter months, we have very few restaurants that are available to people who are coming to visit. I think what Mr. Bartlett is trying to provide is an alternative for some families, because my understanding is it's a call in and a pickup and a takeout. I think food trucks overall, they bring a different draw a different crowd. They provide a different service. I think there could be some potential interest and opportunity for our town to take a look at that. But with respect to this request for Mr. Bartlett, I fully support what he's requesting.
All right, council, I'm gonna ask that, I kind of want to enter debate on this one. So I asked, it's within the point of order. I can delegate the deputy mayor to chair the meeting. Chair this particular motion so I can enter debate. So at this point, I've passed it over to the deputy mayor to chair, as I'd like to weigh in on debate. And it's past the point of information. So over to you, Deputy Mayor.
Okay, the mayor would like to enter debate, so
Yeah.
we'll ask to add his comment.
Sure, council. I think that there's a lot of warn in what everyone's saying. I think the fact that there is a business that has staff that they're looking to find a way to employ them, it's certainly noteworthy, and it's certainly important. I will say that there is a number of businesses that are trying this year to make a year-round go at it, like William and Water. You have Lumberjacks that now has competition that's trying to make a go at it. So when you add new ones in, it certainly has impact on the ones that are existing. I will say my concern, though, isn't necessarily the food truck. It's actually the process. So this council has, and the previous councils have consistently said no to everybody that has applied. We're going to all of a sudden change the rules. And it really feels ad hoc versus having a true policy in place that says these are the rules of food truck. I just personally think that if you're going to open the door, you do it and you do a call for proposals, because there's a number of other businesses in town that do not operate during the winter. And if they could cut overhead, they may actually do it and may actually get a food truck. So I just don't think for people that have been rejected in the past, that it's fair just to do an ad hoc approval now. But that's just my own personal opinion. And that's why I wanted to enter debate. I think if you were going to do this, let's consult, let's open it up and do a request for proposals and determine how many food trucks we want. Because the next business that's closed that says, hey, I want a food truck now. How do you say no now? If you say no, yes, here, you've opened the door. So that's okay, but we should limit how many doors we want open so everyone has a fair and equal process in this versus just doing an ad hoc one just because we got a request right now. That's just my personal opinion.
Thank you, Mayor Henderson. Councillor Gomischel? Sorry.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I wasn't going to comment, but to Councillor Blanchard's point, it is a brick and mortar business downtown that previous councils approved with the promise that it was a phased in post-COVID plan, that it would be a year-round business eventually. And I don't see that happening. As great as Char and Chowder is, at the meeting way back when, when I raised my hand to vote for Char and Chowder's variance, basically, the plan on the table was that this is phase one, and then there'll be a phase two, and maybe a phase three, and there was going to be an upstairs, maybe with apartments. And we were looking at housing, So it's not exactly accurate to say it's a stone and mortar business, because even though it's a business, it's not quite the same as the other restaurants in towns. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gomischel. Would you like the rein back? Okay, so Councillor Weir, would you like to speak?
Yes, no respect. A senior citizen here. I I spoke against vending trucks back in the summer when we had a proposal for a vending truck down in the parking lot of the liquor store. And once we start down the slope, it becomes very slippery. And we either have a policy or we don't. And if we're going to do it on an ad hoc basis, I think we've got to develop some type of framework under which we're going to make the decisions, other than the 9 of us like this one, we don't like the next one. We should have a formal policy on how we select which vending trucks, and I'm not talking food trucks only, I'm talking vending trucks. And so that's just my comment on the matter.
Thank you, Counselor Ware. Anybody else? Counselor Neal.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Yeah, I just wanted to echo what Daryl said. He just basically took the words out of my mouth. So again, I feel the same way in the sense that I think this is kind of cart before the horse here. I think we have zoning bylaws coming up to the point the mayor made. Again, I think this is possibly opening it wide up. And my concern, like I understand them wanting to maintain a business through the winter. Personally, I'm having a hard time even delineating between this food truck and what they already have established. I mean, to me, they're essentially the same thing. I don't know how one can operate in the winter and the other can't, but nevertheless, again, my concern would be other businesses that suddenly do want to slash overhead. And instead of maintaining their full brick and mortar business all winter long, are cutting the staff and operating a food truck in those off months. So I think this is opening the door up quite a bit. And I think, again, with some of the processes we have coming up with regards to zoning bylaws and whatnot, and the secondary municipal plan, I just think that this is a little early for this discussion. I think we should be setting these ground rules out and making a level playing field for everybody rather than approving them ad hoc. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Neal. Counselor Hurdle.
Thank you, Worship. I think this is one of those situations where everybody's correct and everybody's saying the right things, and I agree with everybody at this point. For me, I just have to ask myself if a municipality and a council should be in the business of determining what businesses operate in the community. And I'm not sure that that's something that we necessarily want to take on. Because that is also a slippery slope. We get to determine based on how we feel who should be here and who shouldn't. And that's difficult. Not a position I think we want to be in or that I want to be in myself. At the same time, I understand that this is ad hoc and I agree. But I guess my concern is that, I mean, we have an operator here in the community that's asking for us to do this. And he, I guess in this situation, he was the first one to ask, and we would essentially, by denying it at this point, be, I guess, putting the onus on him that nobody else asked before, and it didn't become before council before, and that we didn't organize a response to this before, shouldn't be that operator's fault for asking at this point. And that seems like that's the path that we're going down now. So I just don't think we necessarily should be in the business of limiting competition, because I think competition often, if it's done well, helps float all boats in a community and offers, like Councillor Harlan said as well, different options for a community that can help other businesses be better and bring better services to the community too. So I can understand where the pinch is being felt here, but I guess from an overall perspective, I'm just hesitant to be in a position where we're deciding who and what operates and when and where and how. Again, I get Councillor Heenan's point as well, that you don't necessarily want somebody rolling in with a truck that is not from here, doesn't pay tax here, doesn't employ people here. I don't think that's the road we necessarily want to go down. But like Councillor Blanchard said, that's not the situation that we're in right now. So we would essentially be choosing one business operator over another, who is also trying to operate in a difficult environment through the wintertime. And again, I'm just not sure that that's where we want to find ourselves. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hurtle, sorry. Councillor Heenan?
Yes, just one further point to reflect on Councillor Gumichel's point. about the business downtown. A trailer is a trailer to me. And I understand we've gotten a letter that says they can't insulate it, et cetera, to make it work where they're at in the downtown core. Well, I don't know what changes, what's the difference between a trailer on Bayview and a trailer in downtown St. Andrews. In my opinion, if he wants a trailer, he can continue his business. We have nothing to say about that. The trailer is there. We gave the variances. We've done all of that. Mr. Bartlett is more than welcome to open the doors at Chow and Chowder and open the trailer downtown, and he can have his business. There's no difference. Insulating doesn't work. If he can't insulate downtown, he can't insulate the trailer up on Bayview. And quite frankly, if he was downtown, he would probably do better business. Therefore, he would be in his BIA, he would be paying his fees, he would be able to employ his persons, he would be able to do everything. Having a trailer up here or downtown, which is basically what it is, I've been in there, I know it's a trailer. So a trailer is a trailer. And if Chow and Chowder had finished what they were going to do, they'd be open 12 months of the year. So I don't think it's council's business, and I don't think it's our decision necessarily to give him an opportunity when he already has an opportunity. That's my point. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Heenan. Anybody else? Oh, Mr. Knopper.
Sorry, just one clarification point to Councillor Heenan at your first comments noted that it was an increase in the BIA levy. It's not, it's the same levy that's been in place for a very long time. I just wanted to make sure that was clarified. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Knopper. Any other councillor, Councillor Harland?
Thank you. I think we have to be careful about making assumptions. Every business owner does the very best that they can do, I think, in very difficult situations around whether or not they can stay open 5 days a week, 3 days a week, or they have to shut down through the winter altogether. I accept that if Mr. Bartlett says that he can't operate at Char and Chowder for a variety of reasons, I'm not disputing that. I do see it as being very different. I see it as an extension of his business in being in the location that he's requesting for the food trailer. But I just want to be careful because I think our business operators, we rely on them to keep this town growing. And I want to do whatever we can to support all of our business owners. And I respect the decisions that they have to make, which sometimes are very difficult decisions.
Thank you, Councillor Harland.
If I could just add on for just a new point, since I already spoke once.
Mayor,
I'll
would you
speak-
like to speak again?
Yeah, if you don't mind, just my
No,
second
I don't
point
mind.
is, I totally understand about how, you have to set businesses up for success, but there's a lot of businesses that with minimum wage going up $3, with power through the roof, with food costs what they are right now, it's harder and harder to generate a profit. So I know we don't regulate business, but we are changing the rules, whether we want to admit it or not. We're changing the rules right now. It's been a no, maybe not us, but the town of St. Andrews has said no. Suddenly we said yes. I guarantee you, restaurants in St. Andrews in the wintertime that have a loss. They operate on a monthly loss, and they do that to keep their staff employed, knowing that the long term they'll be there. I will say that if I'm an existing year-round business trying to make ends meet, a second location would help my business thrive. So if we're not regulating business, if I'm a restaurant in town, a food truck sitting up here at the arena or on my friend's lot would help me get extra profit. So you say yes to this. How do you say no to the other person if we're not regulating business to say, I need a second location because times are tough. I need to, there's a takeout just outside of town. I bet you they're part of St. Andrews now. It's St. Andrews. So you're used to hearing that out of town. It's St. Andrews. So I bet you him having a pop-up place in St. Andrews would generate more business. He's trying to give a go till December. So it's a slippery slope is all I'm saying. And if you don't have a policy in place, how do you say no to the next business that said, I really need this to help keep my staff employed, right? So that's just my only concern on that. And I totally hear it, that it's not us to regulate business, but this would be a change in the way that the town of St. Andrews has conducted business in the past. I'm okay for it, but we should consult with the business community, develop a policy, and put a call for proposals so every business owner in town has an opportunity to thrive as well. Thank you.
Thank you, your worship. Councillor Bennett, you would like to speak another time?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor and Council. I don't want to echo the mayor's comments, but I do appreciate the fact that you acknowledged the clam digger and the fact that they're trying to stay open this winter. And I believe it's their first time ever trying to stay open in the winter. Like many companies around town that are trying to provide services, staffing is a huge issue. And if you can keep your staff on year round, it's a whole lot easier to retain that staff. And it's also easier for that staff to go get mortgages and truck loans and everything else. They have year round employment versus being seasonal. And that will certainly make a better, citizen, for our wonderful community that we have here. But more so than the clam digger, because they're a wonderful facility and they provide wonderful food that I eat often, as well as Mr. Bartlett, like the food that he serves there is fantastic. And I would love to be able to go into his restaurant on a regular basis throughout the winter and enjoy it. But more so than anybody right now, I'm kind of thinking about the subway and being across the road, downtown. They're trying to make a goal of it. It's their first year in business. It can't be easy for them to weather the winter and the reduced numbers in town all winter long. And a business like that certainly benefits our community because they don't have a liquor license, so anybody can go in there. And it's a great spot for the youth and anybody to go and have a quick meal in town that's very affordable. So I'd really hate to see something that could hurt them in their first year. And everybody says in business, the first year is the hardest, and not to regulate business, but we also got to set the businesses up that are investing in town. We got to set them up for success, and we certainly can't put barriers that hurt them. I certainly wish Mr. Bartlett and his enterprises extremely well, because I want to be a patron for a long time. But in this case, I think that the businesses that are under roofs are the ones that we should take care of first. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bennett. Councillor Hurdle.
Thank you, Worship. I'd just like to motion that we table this discussion and move for creating a policy around this as soon as possible.
All right, Council. Now we have a tabling, and so I would need a seconder, would I not? Or are we going to accept that motion? You need a seconder. So could I please have a seconder? Councillor Harland is the seconder. Any more discussion on tabling it? Mr. Spear.
Well, I appreciate what Councillor Hurdle's doing. I just be advised it's a big step, something we're not going to solve for Mr. Bartlett to try to get this thing open this winter if you're going to do it right, because there's going to be consultations and things and over Christmas. So, truthfully, especially with budget, staff's not going to be able to put something together in the next 2 to 3 weeks and have it all, with proper consultation. So certainly if you want to table it, but just let your expectation be that it'll probably be something not revisited until January, because it'll be hard for us to come up, especially where you want to consult with some of the other people in town. By the time we get it out, advertise, be into late November, early December. So we'll follow council's lead, but just so this, this isn't something that realistically is going to be figured out in 2 weeks.
Thank you, Mr. Spear. And I gave up my right to discuss because I wanted the mayor to speak. So now I can say, oops, Mr. Button.
Sorry, Council, I just wanted to remind you, so we do have a bylaw in place for the peddler's permit. So whatever decision is with this policy would be tied to a bylaw. So you're still talking public hearing of objections and 3 readings by council. So just understand you're giving you an idea of further timeline that would be structured with this.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Nopper. More discussion, Mr.
Well, I just want to say I won't support tabling it.
But we have to vote on the tabling first. Oh, sorry. So, council, before you is a motion to table it by Councillor Hurdle and Councillor Harland. So all those in favor of tabling it, say aye. Two, and opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's 2-7. Thank you very much. Now, what is your proposal for Mr. Bartlett, right? We have to go back to that? Okay, the original motion?
Deputy Mayor, I
Anybody?
think you can bring it to a vote that
Okay.
people have had more than lots of opportunity to discuss it.
But don't we need a first and seconder? No,
You already
we
have.
already have it. Okay. So now we're going to go back to the original motion and vote. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? So there were 1, 2, 3 ayes and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 nays. Correct? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 nays, 6 nays and 3 ayes. Correct? Okay. Thank you. Oops. Did you want everybody's name that? Okay.
I figured we have to record the names by name. We just want to make sure we had everyone down.
Okay.
Thank you, but we're good.
Thank you very much, Mr. Spear, Mr. Knopper, for keeping me in line. And Mayor, it is now your turn.
Thank you, and that's okay, Mr. Nopper, to point of order, just to pass it back over at this point. Okay, thank you. All right, thank you, Deputy Mayor Akaji, for allowing me. I know that we did speak before as well, so I know you probably did want to enter that one, but I appreciate you letting me enter debate. I do it from time to time, and I thought it was above giving information, so appreciate you allowing me to enter. Okay, that brings us into new business. As indicated in their amended agenda, Katie's Cove Inc. was looking for a letter of support with the Environmental Trust Fund for a scope of work with Eastern Charlotte Waterways for a water quality study for Katie's Cove. I think really what that new business for Mr. Knopper was just to see if council was okay with sending a letter of support. So typically anything like that, I like to check back with council. So I'm basically writing on behalf of the will of council. So I guess the only thing to add is you know, there's runoff that does happen in the community. There's also water that gets trapped. So just be prepared that stuff could come back to talk about problems with the water. So that just comes with, it's kind of like getting a study. If you get this done, there is action, but it is environmental. And I think it is important for them. So Councillor Blanchard.
Oh, thank you, Your Worship. Just to get it on the record, because I did actually, this request actually, well, not this specific request, but a request came in from the Environmental Advisory Committee to get the reports back on the water quality testing that the town had been doing through the summer. And I came to find out that it was on behalf of Katie's Cove Incorporated. So, in speaking with the town staff, they hesitated to release it because it was being done on behalf of Katie's Cove Incorporated. But I just wanted to get it on the record. The information did go to the province. So if there was an issue with water quality, we would hear back from the province. It would come back if there was an issue. I know the numbers haven't been released, but I just wanted to get that on the record so the public is aware. Testing was being done, but everything was essentially okay, I guess, through the summer. But I do support this motion that's being put forward. Thank you.
Perfect. And I wonder if the scope of work would actually indicate how they improve the water quality. Like I know we talked about in the past, they used to have the lifeguards, for example, rake the algae every day or every second day. Like that's the type of recommendations that we should also be looking at as well, because the reality is if you trap water, it's going to happen. So it's almost an action plan on how you can improve versus, hey, this is what the water quality is. I'd really like to say this is how you make it a premier, swimming destination in Atlantic Canada, right? So that would cover the scope of work, I assume, as well.
Actually, not usually, Your Worship. Usually with the ETF funds, they only look at what is causing it. And so they don't actually come up with a solution. They might come up with some very light recommendations, but they will not support engineered things. They might identify different sources, and then there'll either be another study or someone brought in to figure out how to remediate those particular sources that's causing the pollution.
That's unfortunate, but in the same sense, I guess you need to know what the root cause of before you find a solution, right? So but ideally recommendations on how you improve it would be at the end of the day what we need versus just say, hey, this is what's causing it. But I guess this is step one. So council, does anyone, I don't have a motion for this, but is anyone, just a show of consensus, everyone okay with me sending a letter on behalf of the town? I heard Council Blanchard seeing head nods enough that we have consensus. So that one is behind us. So we are now in question period. Anyone in the audience like to ask any questions today? Okay, is there anyone online that would like to ask any questions today? Okay, you want to ask them to raise their hand if they have any questions?
For those that are online, if you have any questions for council pertaining to tonight's agenda, please raise your hand.
And while we're waiting for that, was anything submitted online during the meeting? Through email, that is?
No.
Okay, and no hand?
The CEO ask a question?
CEO cannot ask a question, but thank you. Go ahead, CEO.
Thanks you, Council, actually. December's coming upon us, and I just, like we did with the changing of the meeting date for this month, I'm assuming 3 days before Christmas, council doesn't want to meet again in December. And so I just want to know, we'd maybe talk about it next meeting more precisely, but I didn't know if you want to do 2 back-to-back meetings or actually have a couple of meetings in that first week to try to clean up end of the year business and then call it a year unless something major comes up. So you don't necessarily have to decide tonight, but I think maybe on the next meeting, we'll have a motion to change those dates as well. So just to think about it and let us know what's best for you.
I might not have to think about it unless there's new information. I think cleaning it up the first week and having a couple meetings and maybe shutting it down mid-December would be the way to go. What do you? And I think it's important. Staff's had a lot of meetings this year, and I will note, as the email Mr. Nopper sent us, the meeting schedule in November is a little intimidating right now. So,
We'll bring a formal motion forward for your board.
sounds good. All right. Unless anyone sees it different, I think I'd like to celebrate the holidays with my family. All right. So since we're through that, we're now into Deputy Mayor and Councilor's comments. I did, yeah. So Councilor Heenan.
Yes, your worship. I'd just like to take a moment to congratulate our deputy mayor for receiving the Order of New Brunswick, which will be given to her on November the 23rd, 2023 in Fredericton. So congratulations, deputy mayor.
Okay. Yes, now that it's out. I don't know if it's officially out there, but it is now.
It is now.
It is now. But yes, in all honesty, and on that is we are aware. And I'll honestly say it couldn't be to a more deserving individual. The amount of volunteerism that you've done in this community and not just talking around the council table, because for a number of years it really was volunteerism. But there's some things that I think people in the community should know, like for Dial-A-Ride, you put over 100,000 kilometers on your car, driving people to various appointments and things like that. The amount of awareness you have taught, not just to youth, but to adults in our community about the Peskotomuhkati and culture. And I noticed it wasn't on your write-up that I did see. You were also a curling coach. A lot of people don't know. The deputy mayor was my curling coach for a year. And I'm not going to date her, so we could blame her for her lack. But and just a true story on her, as a lot of you know, is I'm at Kingsbury, and Kira is she actually got mad at me this summer for not asking her to volunteer at events. And that'll just talk about the type of person she is. So I wasn't prepared, but the cat's out of the bag. It couldn't go out to a more deserving individual. And I will say that when that ceremony it happens to be at UMNB. So there'll be a number of us in Fredericton. I know we all can't be in the room with you because it is limited, but we look forward to celebrating in Fredericton with you because you absolutely 100% deserve it. And we're proud to be up here and have you as a fellow councillor. So thank you.
Now can I do my thing?
Well, it's Mark's birthday. We should probably, no, I'm kidding. Go ahead. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor. I'm having fun with it. No, I'm having fun.
I'll let
You
Kate-
actually have one?
I
Okay.
gotta go on.
We gotta let the
Well, I only wanted to say I appreciate the preferential treatment from the mayor on seconding motions. And I'll go on the record as saying there's nowhere I would rather spend my 50th birthday than sitting in a town council meeting. So, yeah, thank you.
Okay, I just have a couple of things. The poppy poles downtown and by the Anglican Church. They're fantastic. The veterans appreciate them. But I know the ladies and the guy they've spent hours putting them together. And Mary Janet Cliff, Barb Votero, Sylvia Anderson, Elda Bailey, Joyce McFarlane, and David Lord. Thank you very much for making our town look tremendous for Remembrance Day, which is November the 11th. But I know I've probably left somebody out because it wasn't in the names that I was given. But anybody, and I know on craft night, when I go to craft night, they were working hours sewing the poppies on, but they've had other people making the poppies, and they just look tremendous. And I want to thank them very much for their efforts. The other thing is you talk about my Indigenous side, and this Sunday at the United Church, we are performing a Kairos blanket exercise. It is open to, I think they're doing 30 people. So that's Sunday, November the 12th from 2:00 to probably 3:30, I would say, or 4. And you have to register in order to go because there's only so many seats. And Janice Fairney is the lady that you would call, and her number is 506-466-8152. So if you would like to partake in a Kairos blanket exercise and have never done so, this is your opportunity to be involved. I know Councillor Hurdle was at the last one. Mr. Nopper and Mr. Spear were at the one that we did at the high school. There will be more, just because they're becoming a very popular item, and they are sharing the history of the Indigenous people. It's an interactive story to teach you what happened to the Indigenous people. And we enjoy doing them. And I'm very fortunate I have 2 other cohorts who are facilitators. One is Mi'kmaq, and that is Constance Sewell. And the other one is Wolastoqey, which is Charlie Nicholas, who's my cousin. Unfortunately, they won't be there, but I'll be there on Sunday, and I'll have 2 helpers helping me to do the Kairos blanket exercise. So if you're interested, I would like to see you participate and learn more about the Indigenous ways that was not taught in the schools. Thank you very much. And thank you for bringing forward my award. I'm not sure I'm going to be in trouble now, but yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. And thank you for all your comments. Wally one, Emset Nogama, all my relations. Thank you.
The good news is if Vicky Hogarth posts it right now, only 10,000 people will see it within an hour. Ooh, she's in the room. Yeah. Yeah. Anyone else from council? All right. Thank you very much, council. That is,
Sorry, Your Worship, there's something I wanted to put in my staff report. I did want to acknowledge the Peskotomuhkati Legion for the work they did, and actually they got the people together to create those banners and raise the funds for those. Although Public Works put them up, it was through initiative of their members to actually reach out to the families and raise the funds to have those. So I just wanted to acknowledge the volunteers there for the work they have done as well as part of that initiative.
in my time in the community, it's probably the most visible that we've ever been about it. And I think that that's definitely something that we should all be proud of, including staff and the Legion. All right. That's everyone then. So I will at this time at 8:18 p.m. look for a mover that council moves into closed session for the Local Governance Act, Section 68(1)(c), that is information that could cause financial loss or gain to a person or the local government, or could jeopardize negotiations leading to an agreement or contract, and as well Section 68(1)(f), which is information concerning legal opinions or advice provided to the local government by its solicitor, or privileged communications between solicitor and client in a matter of local government business. I've got Councillor Gumashell, seconded by Councillor Neal. All in favor of going to closed session? Thank you, everyone, for watching this evening. Motion to come out of closed session? Counselor Heenan, second by Counselor Neal, all in favor of coming out of closed session? Motion to adjourn. Deputy Mayor Akagene, Counselor Bennett, all in favor of adjourning? We are adjourned.